Welcome to Off the Record with Randall. 30 minutes late and the world trying to conspire against us. Look, folks, I can't tell you how many people have wanted something from me in the last half hour. And I'm sick of them. So I'm going on the air right now. First off, welcome. I've got a guy, my yard man, Trevor, some reason decided to come cut the yard on Tuesday. We're here with Howie. Howie, how are you?
It sounds like I'm doing better than you are.
Well,
Or at least sounds like I've got a better afternoon going on.
I'm trying to help folks out, and I had a 7 o'clock record time. I pushed it back to 7:30, and I still have not made it to the air yet. So I guess we've made it now. But tonight is an AEW show. We're going to go from 7:30 to 8 o'clock. A lot going on right now in the world of wrestling, Howie. One of the big things going on right now, what is the WWE? We'll get into individuals in a second. What's the WWE thinking right now? They've released half of their roster. Some names we don't know, some names we do know. But, it's a large portion of their roster that has been released in the last month. So, what's your gut feeling?
I think they're getting ready to sell. I think the McMahons are ready to sell, and they're trimming the budget to make it look a lot more profitable than it really is by releasing a lot of these big name talents that are not really getting a lot of use out of. And so I think they're getting ready to sell. I think I think maybe NBC or somebody like that may be ready to pull the trigger and take over.
Do you think, what do you think that sale looks like? Do you think Stephanie McMahon and Triple H stays involved? Recently, I've been, NXT become a third brand at one point, and now it's referred to as a developmental. I've heard rumors of Triple H owning NXT when this is all over. What would you think about a break-off NXT brand?
That is a good question, and I feel like that's probably what's going to happen. I think Triple H will go his own way, start his own brand up, and split completely away from WWE, and him and Stephanie will take over NXT. And a lot of people say this is a developmental project, but then a lot of people actually says this is the main brand because they're so much better and it's so much better wrestling than what you see on Raw and SmackDown right now.
Well, they have been an outrageous number of releases occurred. Let's just run through some of the recent ones. We all know of some of the past ones, the Lars Sullivans of the world. Samoa Joe was released and re-signed. But let's get to the ones that really seem to be in the mainstream right now. But let's start with the latest release. The WWE has released a, granted, 71-year-old Ric Flair from his contract, which to me, I made the example, it's kind of like releasing Babe Ruth. So Flair is a free agent. Do you think he could end up in AEW, or do you think he will take his 50-something-year career and go to the house?
No, he loves the spotlight too much. He's got so many TV commercials out right now with these different things. He loves the spotlight. He's got a future son-in-law that's in AEW at the moment. I'm looking at it like this. Sting is trying to get him to come to AEW by some of the Twitter stuff that he's actually put out in the last 24 hours. So no, I think Ric Flair will end up with the AEW, and he can't wrestle no more, I don't think. But there's
let's hope.
I said think.
If he wrestles, it's over for me. Flair in the ring at 71 would kill it.
Well, there's two things that I'm thinking that could happen. One, he could actually be a mouthpiece for somebody or a faction in the AEW. Or two, this new thing that came around with the pandemic, a cinematic match. He could possibly do something like that.
Let's hope not. Seriously, I I know Sting's in his 60s in wrestling, but I truly don't want to see Flair attempt to wrestle right now. And a large portion of that is that he's in such bad shape. You know, we thought a couple of years ago we were going to lose Flair to a heart condition, and now, the thoughts of him getting in the ring would be mortifying. But I think we could see him heading to faction for real. They've been talking for a while about an AEW Four Horsemen. I do, in fact, think they own the name Horseman. Well, let me take that back. Conrad Thompson, Ric Flair's son-in-law, owns the name Horseman. And Conrad has a very good working relationship with AEW. As we know, he does all the, what's it called, StarCast events prior to the pay-per-views. Yes. He also hosts a podcast with Arn Anderson. What would you think about an AEW Horseman? And we kicked around some names. What do you think would be an AEW Horseman with Ric Flair at the head of it?
Now let's go ahead and get all the names out there. Not only with Arn Anderson does he have a podcast with, but he also has one with Tony Schiavone. So those are two big guys that are in the AEW network. He does one with Jim Ross. You don't get much bigger than that with Jim Ross there. So, yeah, I think it could be another Four Horsemen coming around, and it could be really good because AEW has a lot of factions. They have a lot of groups that, you got the Dark Order, you got being the Elite, you got Jericho's group. I can't think of the name right now, but
Inner Circle.
Inner Circle, yeah. So they have a lot of factions that's already there. So it could be interesting to see what could come about this.
So let me ask you let's throw some of those names out there we were talking about. One I would throw out there since day one, and he's working with a partnership with Arn Anderson now, is I know Cody Rhodes has had some desire to work with Ric Flair, maybe in a new Four Horsemen. So could you see a Cody Rhodes in that group? I gave you a list the other day. Let me change it up. I don't know how they get there. But what if it was Cody Rhodes, Adeletto, the former, and Andrea, what was his name in WWE? I can't even remember now.
Andrade.
And FTR as a tag team. Or could it be, a returning Bryan Danielson or something we'll get to later? Could you see somebody like that? Give me your best. Make your dream Four Horsemen in AEW.
My dream Four Horsemen would be the mouthpiece would be MJF, of course.
MJF, interesting.
The enforcer would be Hangman Adam Page.
Okay.
You got, like I said, I wouldn't mind seeing Cody Rhodes on there. And the fourth one, I really don't know who I'd want the fourth one to be honest.
Well, it has a history of being a young and upcoming superstar. After Ole Anderson was kicked out, it was Luger and then Windham. What if it was somebody that we didn't expect, maybe a Jungle Boy or somebody?
Yeah, that's a good possibility.
But let's get through this list of people that have been released. I'm trying to post this. I guess that'll come here in a little bit. But I want to talk about the next one.
If you want to go ahead and go through and try to get that posted, I'll go through the releases that have been done.
No, you can't get it posted. Let's go to the next one. Let's just go to the most obvious release. Wyndham Rotunda, a.k.a. Bray Wyatt, released on July 31st. My first impression was just they have lost their mind. Of one thing in the WWE that I've enjoyed, it has been Bray Wyatt. And the more the WWE main roster got involved with the character of Bray Wyatt, the less interesting I found it. The Bray Wyatt character of NXT, the singing, what was the name of the movie? Taxi Driver, kind of is. I found him the most interesting character in the WWE in the last decade. The Fiend, the Firehouse Funhouse, was interesting, but I still thought the original was better. But were you shocked that they released a 32-year-old Bray Wyatt?
Well, the thing was the hottest thing going on during the pandemic. I mean, with everything that he had going on, the Firefly Funhouse, and being able to do a couple of cinematic matches, and I mean, he was the hottest thing going, the most entertaining thing that was going on, and then all of a sudden he gets hurt and he's out for a little while. Supposed to be back. I think I read supposed to be back next month, and then all of a sudden they release him. It's crazy. It goes back to the point. I think they're trying to cut some fat off the steak there to where they can sell it and show that it's making a bigger profit than it really is.
But that almost seems like and I heard this on another show, and if I could remember where, I'd give it full credit, and maybe it was one of Conrad Thompson's show. Bray Wyatt was one of the best-selling merchandise they had in WWE. You have to think that it's, one of the definite money makers.
It's a money maker, but from what I've been hearing and reading and stuff, it's people are wanting, the ones they're from the WWE, when they're wanting to sell, and the people that may be buying it is wanting to make it even more kid friendly, more of a, I won't use the word cartoon, but something a little more G rated. And the Fiend was out there a little bit, so that could be a reason they let him go, is because of him being out there and some of the stuff that was going on.
Hey, greatest comment ever to come in to Off the Record from Dan L. See, this is what's wrong with America too much. White privilege. Your show needs to diversify to white. Sir, may I go ahead and say you're a complete idiot, and obviously you're spamming, but if you want to come talk to me in person, I'll give you a phone number. Just text me, okay? So, jackasses. We're talking wrestling. Of course, I'm white privileged. And again, that guy's definitely spam. Sorry for our African-American friends that somebody would even front that way. I thought too, quietly they released his wife, JoJo Offerman, daughter of former Major League Baseball player Jose Offerman. I don't know for sure. We'll call him by his given name, since the Bray Wyatt character probably will stay in the WWE. I don't know what Windham Rotunda's future holds, but let's talk about who he really is in real life. This is the grandson of Blackjack Mulligan, the nephew of Barry Windham, thus the name Windham Rotunda. Of course, Rotunda, Mike Rotunda, Barry Windham, the U.S. Express and the WWE, former World Tag Team Champions. His brother, Bo Dallas, was released also. Of course, I can't text you without your number. You know what, sir? There's a number on this page, and there's also a place for you to send me a message. Go ahead and leave it there, and we'll work with it later on. You big idiot. So Windham Rotunda is obviously someone who has a future somewhere inside the world of pro wrestling. Let me get this comment off the screen. I blocked him at the same time. I don't know if I can get it off. I might have should have waited to block it. There we go. So Wyndham Rotunda is obviously someone who has a future in the AEW. But what would you book Wyndham Rotunda as?
He's got a future wherever he wants to go. He is a fine, good young wrestler. 32 years old, that's basically kind of hitting your prime when it comes to wrestling. But with AEW there, it's kind of like what we talked about the other day. Could he be coming in, joining the Dark Order? Or
Interesting.
could he, could he be one of those that have come in and come in with flair and kind of start Four Horsemen stable? He's so talented, he could do any of the above, really.
So what would you think if a Four Horsemen come up with Wyndham Rotunda? And Rotunda was kind of the head of the Horsemen. I would completely buy that. Also, let's go on down some of the other people that have been released of note. Of course, from the group that was, and the wife of Nikki Cross, or the husband of Nikki Cross, Killian Dane was released, a huge 6'8", 320-pound guy that was a part of Eric's Young, Sanity group for a long time. He was released, somebody that a lot of people believed had a future. Former NFL player Tito Sampello was released. The Bollywood Boys, who was the best part probably of, oh my God, what's his name? The Indian world champion, his run as a world champion, the Bollywood Boys. A great little tag team, somebody I don't know, Curtis Stallion, Fandango and Tyler Breeze, a great little tag team.
Curtis Stallion, I saw him wrestle in Fort Payne on 2 or 3 different occasions in the last 2 years.
Fort Payne to the WWE, that's probably what was wrong with him.
There you go.
Tony Nese was released. August Grade was released. Chase Parker released. Matt Martell. And it hits then, to me, even more shocking was the release of Braun Strowman.
Yeah, it was. He, what was it, 2 years ago? He was a world champion. He was a
Feud
tag team champion.
By himself.
Yeah, by himself. Yeah, absolutely. He was main event and pay-per-views there for a while. And I won't say you got one WrestleMania in there as a main event, but I may be wrong on that. But anyway, you go from main eventing a year and a half, 2 years ago to being released.
I don't think he main event the year him and the Kid won the World Tag Team titles. I think they were the co-main event.
Right.
Strowman's sitting out there. He recently released some stuff that he is partially paralyzed in his left leg. So whether that prevents him from entering the wrestling again or not. Already in AEW, a.k.a. Aleister Black, Tony End, Malachi Black, already in a huge program with Cody Rhodes. And I really think he is a star of the future in AEW, Malachi Black. What was your impressions of his debut?
It was one of the best debuts that AEW's had in quite some time. He came out there, he made a point, and instead of going after somebody small, he went after who I consider the head cheese of the whole AEW thing with Cody Rhodes. I know Kenny Omega's your champ and all that, but if you're going to go in and show what your toughness is, you go after the biggest one in the park there, and the biggest one in the park, in my consideration, is Cody Rhodes.
So, do you like the role that he's been cast in? Because I do. And I think the interesting thing I thought was, and I still think we'll get to it later here, but available out there in the world is Buddy Murphy. Him and Buddy Murphy had done an angle where Murphy damaged his eye, and he kind of carried that eye injury over to the AEW. I really liked that. So I thought it was something different. kind of breaking down that wall a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, that could be a good future matchup with Buddy Murphy because I think he's on under a 90-day non-compete, so he's still got a little time before he can actually join up and see what happens.
So, Ruby Wright was released. Somebody that we at one point you're getting some static off your mic there. I don't know. I think it went away just then. Ruby Wright, who we thought for a while was going to be part of the women's revolution. Miro's wife, Lana. Buddy Murphy, who I think is absolutely one of the great workers. There's a common thread here that they could never find a place for a lot of these guys. Buddy Murphy, they had with Seth Rollins. They had him with the Mysterio family. They just never really found his place. And behind the scenes, Santana Garrett, who was a trainer, I know at one point, and then other talents. Some of these names you'll know. JoJo Hoffman, Bray's wife. Jeff Jarrett was released. Adam Van Kirk, one of the announcers. Tom Phillips, one of the announcers. Drake Younger, referee. And really, that's all of notice. But let's think about it. Ric Flair, Bray Wyatt, Aleister Black, Braun Strowman, Buddy Murphy. That's enough to build a company off of, don't you think?
That's what I was fixing to say. You got an all-star crew. Excuse me. You got an all-star crew right there. Just tons of talent that can be brought in. New thing, and we're just speculating them going to AEW. You still got TNA out there. You still got New Japan that could actually go out and get these guys. But more than likely they're going to end up at AEW.
Well, it's different now. AEW is kind of breaking down some of those walls, working with New Japan, and we'll get into some AEW stuff. If you were going to make a quick list, and I know you got the list in front of you, 1 through 5 that was released, who do you think the top 5 talents are?
The top one has got to be Bryan Danielson. He's got to be. He's
now he wasn't released. His contract is
well. I know he wasn't released, but I mean, they let him walk basically. He was a free agent. They let him walk.
right.
So I look at it like this: they did kind of release him, but technically they didn't. But I look at it like they did. As far as the ones that was actually released, I think if I was gonna start, at number 5, I'd start with I'd go with Braun Strowman. Number 4, I'd probably go with Buddy Murphy. Number 3, probably it would be Ruby Wright because she's actually a good worker. I just don't think she had the opportunity that she deserved in the WWE because I don't think she had the look that Vince McMahon really liked.
Right.
Number 2, you're probably going to laugh at me when I say this, but Fandango, I always thought he was a good wrestler. It's just some of the gimmicks they stuck him with wasn't the best in the world. And then, of course, the number 1 would be Bray Wyatt, And I'm not overlooking Ric Flair. I'm just talking about active wrestlers at the moment.
Well, and do you include Aleister Black since he's already there in the AEW?
I didn't include that either.
But my list went Bray Wyatt, Buddy Murphy, Braun Strowman, and then I really struggled with who would come after that because there's some names that we don't hear every day. I think Killian Dane probably will go back to Europe and have a huge career. But I ended up going with Killian Dane 4, and then Ruby Wright 5. So we had same 4 out of the 5. So which I don't know how to put this because I'm struggling with the words to use. Which So you said the other day, let's talk about. We'll let them into our private conversation. We were. This was before this release. We went. How many? You were like, sign this one, and they need to be done with WWE guys. If WWE keeps releasing this talent, you really can't stop signing WWE guys, can you?
No, you have to keep on signing them. I mean, I think I told you today or yesterday one on the text that, hey, I know I said quit signing WWE guys, but if they're going to let talented guys like this go, you got to keep signing them because, I mean, there's a couple of them that they released that people thought, yeah, they're going to go to AEW, which they may end up there, but it was just for name value. They're not really that great of workers. But some of these guys that they've released in the last 2 weeks, like I said, they could be an all-star team. It could be you could have a whole company. It was just the ones that they released in the last 2 weeks.
So getting back, and then we'll move on. It seems like the AEW is on the verge of signing a couple of huge free agents, and the word's been out for a while that it appears that the former Brian Danielson, has signed with AEW by all accounts that are out there, and the other one being that CM Punk is within days of signing or has signed. Also, I think what would maybe indicate that too, Howie, is that the fact that Adam Page has quietly been moved out of the main event of All Out. And from what I read, they are going with the storyline that the Dark Order lost and Adam Page is now out. What if CM Punk walked out and challenged Kenny Omega in the United Center in front of 22,000 people in Chicago? Outside of Hogan versus Andre the Giant, I think that's as close. Rock versus Stone Cold, which headlined three WrestleManias. That matchup to me in that moment is right there under those moments. Where do you see that in your opinion?
Yeah, I agree 100%. CM Punk is a one that left real earlier than he should have, but he did he's the one everybody wants to see. You watch any wrestling, you hear the chants of CM Punk. They want him back, and with the timing is just near. I don't say perfect, but it's pretty close to being perfect with them having their all out at the United Center in Chicago. That place is going to be sold out, standing room only, with the anticipation of CM Punk coming out. And if he don't come out, they will burn that place down, wanting to know why it didn't happen.
Would you rather see CM Punk in a main event like against Omega, or would you like to see him make one of those crowd entrances like Moxley did a few years ago, where the building's not sure if he's there or not? Because I'll be honest with you, I feel confident that when I say that Brian Danielson has signed with AEW, that he has signed with AEW. CM Punk, I'm not so confident with.
The the best thing that they could do, or I feel like, is bring CM Punk out. Bring him out tomorrow night. Let the world know CM Punk is AEW, All Elite. Be the main event against Omega at the United Center in Chicago. Let him win the title and watch that place erupt.
Oh, it would be classic. All right. So
But
now let's
I'm
move.
not a big fan. Let me go back and say this real quick. I'm not a big fan of just bringing somebody in that night at the United Center and giving them a title shot. That's why I say bring them in a couple weeks early. Let everybody know here's what's happening. Don't make it a surprise because to me, I'd rather kind of know what's going on instead of being a major surprise like that.
All right. So let me twist this around a little bit. What has been said, and we'll get more information later, is Bryan Danielson is coming as a part-time performer. That part of his contract is going to be with New Japan. And we see now with New Japan releasing Tanahashi, who I know there was a lot of question about who Tanahashi was in America. And I really think I nailed it when I said Tanahashi is the John Cena of New Japan Pro Wrestling. He is that guy that's just been there forever, that's been the front line. Maybe those popular, not the most popular, but they call him the once in a lifetime talent. So New Japan to allow Tanahashi to come wrestle on AEW. There's only one bigger star, and that's Kazuchika Okada, and I don't see him coming since him and Omega is the reason we have AEW. So if Bryan Danielson is there 26 weeks out of the year and CM Punk's there 40 weeks out of the year, I really think you've got to put the title very quickly on CM Punk, don't you?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the crowd's going to go wild. CM Punk is one of the most famous wrestlers there is at the moment, and he hasn't wrestled in, what, 8, 10 years? I don't know the exact number, but it's somewhere in that neighborhood.
2017, I believe, was his last match, January. Either
Really?
17 or 14.
Wow, seemed like it's been a lot longer than that, but maybe I'm just thinking about when the pipe bomb, you know.
It may have been 14. I'm confident it's been 7 years. So that would be a 14.
Right.
So he's
but
not.
yeah, he's got to get the title eventually. But I've never been one of these fans that you know, I don't like what WWE does by bringing Goldberg in and giving him a title shot right off the bat every once in a while, or bringing Brock Lesnar in and he's in the main event and not having to wrestle. But with CM Punk, the name value, you got to. I mean, he can put on a show. He's one of these guys that I've heard somebody say, CM Punk, one of these guys that could wrestle a broomstick and make it one of the best matches you ever saw.
Yes, that's a good example. So let me run through some of these rumors and predictions, and you tell me how you feel about them stacking up as a card on it. Okay, before we go there, I want to ask you about one more guy. And it came out yesterday that Adam Cole's contract has expired, that he signed an extension basically to put over Kyle O'Reilly. Of course, he's engaged or married to or involved with Britt Baker. Do you think that was a move to come to AEW? Because that one seems logical.
Yeah, to me, that'd be a no-brainer. And he's done everything he can do at NXT. And the way that they treat the guys from NXT that moves up to Raw and SmackDown, he probably sees that and says, I don't want none of that part. I want to move on somewhere else. And where else would you rather go to be with your girlfriend / fiance or wife, whatever the case may be, with Dr. Britt Baker? And, they travel together and spend more time together.
Also, the one guy that seems to be getting lost in this mix just a little bit, I was going to ask you about Christian Cage. Do you think AEW needs to turn him heel? Because he just does not seem like Christian as a babyface right now.
I don't think so. I feel like AEW's got too many heels as it is, even though they don't believe in heels and faces and all that stuff. But they've just got too many. And I really like him as a face. No, he's not the same as he was, but he could put him together with someone that he could be the mouthpiece of a tag team, and I think they could take off. Now, who?
Okay.
I don't know. I really don't know who they could put him with, but put him with somebody and that needs someone. Hey, put the Cages together, Christian Cage and Brian Cage together as a tag team, the Cage Brothers or something.
Interesting. All right, here we go. Rumored new headliner for possible Chicago match Kenny Omega versus Christian Cage or one of the returning superstars? Again, would you think that would be Punk or I don't know, but I really don't think it's going to be Hangman Page no matter what. So, top of that card, who do you want to see?
How about it's Omega versus Brian Danielson, and then at the end of the match, one Mr. CM Punk walks out on the stage, and the crowd goes ballistic.
Interesting. I like that. I like that. I like that a lot. A World Tag Team Championship, the Young Bucks. Who would you like to see get that opportunity to take the Young Bucks down?
Oh, that's a really good question because there's so many good tag teams in AEW right now. But I still, to me, I feel like FTR deserves a shot to get the title back. I mean, to me, FTR is the best tag team in AEW, even though they're not the champions. But I feel like they're the best ones, so I like to see FTR come back in and win the tag titles.
How about the Pride and the Powerful? Do you not think that they're positioning them to the winner of this feud to maybe be the Young Bucks opponents between Pride and Powerful and FTR? I kind of agree with you. Whoever comes out of this probably, to me, should be the number one tag team. They seem to always mess us up on tag teams by all of a sudden it's Braun Strowman and the Elite Hunter. It's people that we don't expect on tag teams that last minute Moxley is thrown together with someone to compete against them. All right. I kind of like that thought there. How about Miro? Who would you like to see sized up with Miro at this point?
At this point right now, I would still like to see Miro and Darby Allin. If I'm not mistaken, Darby Allin hasn't had a title shot or get a chance to get that title shot back since he lost it. So I'd kind of like to see Darby Allin do that.
How about, is Sting Miro not sellable because of Sting's age?
No, I don't think it is because Sting's never been a great worker, in my opinion. He's famous. Everybody loves him. He's not a great worker. Miro, he's kind of limited on some of the stuff he can do. So to me, I just don't feel like that would be a really great match because you'd have two people trying to carry each other along, and I don't think it would work very well.
If Adam Page is not in the main event, do you not got to find him some big opponent? Could Adam Page, Bryan Danielson be something that interests the crowd?
I think so. Yeah, I believe it could be. That would be a great match. I think that'd be a terrific match out there because I think they work so hard and they're both really good workers. I think that would be great. Uh, it's my one little drawback to AEW is they jump from so many. I mean, one week it's this and against this, and then the next week it's a different feud fighting with these other two. They don't really let it build up a whole lot. But then again, maybe why I keep on watching every week because it keeps you on top of your toes. You can't miss a week without, you're liable. If you miss a week, you're liable to miss something.
Right. So I want to take a second and I want to promote something. We had a hiring event at our work today, Howie, at Manhummel, 260 Road, Dunlap, Tennessee. So we have multiple job opens right now. The hiring event is over, but if you're still looking for a job, call 423-443-7883. And on the other end of the phone will be one of the prettiest, nicest girls we'll ever meet, and my friend Riley. Again, if you're looking for a job, you're in the Dunlap, Sequatchie County Valley, call Riley at 423-443-7883. We are hiring immediately. Surge pay up to $14.50 an hour. How we walk in the door, you make $14.50 an hour. Guess what they give you if you stay 4 months? $500.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Again, that's Manhummel, 260 Resource Road in Dunlap, Tennessee. All right, we're going to switch gears a little.
And if I'm mistaken, if I had to guess, they got great benefits too.
They do, and what we're doing now, and folks always says you got to go through the temp agency, and we have a temp agency on site, and most folks has to go through the temp agency. But if you got experience and walk in the door, you're immediately under insurance, immediately under a 401k, immediately tenured employee. I think it's 2 weeks vacation your first year, which is prorated. Say you start it. What I hate is most places, if you start in the middle of the year, you start with no vacation to the next year. What Manhummel does is prorated. If you have 2 weeks for the first year and you start in June, they go ahead and give you a week. Whatever percentage of the year you work of those 2 weeks, you get that vacation. It's also a very generous vacation. I've told people I've been there 8 years and I have 3+ weeks of vacation now. So, that's a lot of vacation in today's time. So again, that's Manhummel hiring right now, the sponsor of the AEW podcast. So, fantasy booking for just a second. We've done a little bit of it, but let's walk in the door with Windham Rotunda and Howie. Let's do a Howie and Randall. How we get Windham Rotunda, a.k.a. Bray Wyatt, over in AEW. So what's your method, Mr. Howie?
Wow. Kind of caught me off guard on that one.
Hey, it ain't all softballs and loft wedges here, buddy. Every now and then you got to earn your money. So also, we're going to, since you said that, permanent co-host of Off the Record with Randall as of tonight, Mr. Howie Cheney. Congratulations.
Thanks, sir. I appreciate it. Got a lot of big shoes to fill, considering you didn't have a co-host before. So
yeah, you ain't got to do much.
Just got to show up, I think.
Hey, I will tell you, you will never, ever fill Ray Ray's shoe, and Ray will be back in the next couple of weeks. We're going to move Ray to a different time and place, though. A little more easier for him to record. Go ahead, Mr. Howie.
Back to Bray Wyatt. The thing that keeps on sticking in my head is the Dark Order, doing something with them, being able to, get, start a faction with them or bring somebody in that could actually help them out. I don't really know right offhand. First thing that comes to mind, which I know he's a favorite of mine, but Hangman Adam Page, I'd like to see him go. I'd like to see Adam Page against Bray Wyatt. I think that'd be a good match.
I'm here with you, Howie. I'm having camera trouble. As you can see, that's not me. That's our friend Blake. Let me ask you one more while I reset. There I am. Blake Ray from Reaper's Digest, for some reason, was my picture. Let me throw one at you and see how you feel about this. What if, there I go again. There I go. What if they brought in Wyndham Rotunda under his real name with his real history, and he did a. I'm going to reset my camera and will you answer this? And Wyndham done a. The WWE made me be Bray Wyatt, but I am son of wrestling royalty. Why did they do that? I am Blackjack Mulligan. I'm Barry Windham's nephew. And they brought in Taylor Rotundo, Bo Dallas, at the same time. Could that? To me, that would work.
That could kind of be the start of the Four Horsemen that we were talking about earlier.
Right, definitely.
Have them too with bring in Mr. Ric Flair as a manager. Bring him in as a manager. You got half of the Four Horsemen there, and so that could be interesting.
There's also a young Anderson running around who's quite not made the name yet. But if you want to launch his rocket, put him in that group with the Rotundas and with Cody Rhodes, and it's a pretty good start right there.
Yes.
CM Punk. We've talked about some stuff we thought should play out. But today they released that the WWE does not own Cult of Personality. The AEW is free to buy the song to use the rights of. If Cult of Personality plays at any point during an AEW broadcast, insanity there will pursue. What do you think?
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, like we've talked about several times, CM Punk's name is chanted more at wrestling matches than some of the biggest stars in today's, because everybody wants CM Punk to come back. And, so if that first note comes on, you're talking about, earth, I don't want to say earth shattering, but you're talking about it could rock the Richter scale. It could cause a miniature earthquake there. Everybody would be jumping up and down and cheering so loud because he's back, and that's what everybody wants.
And lastly, Bryan Danielson. And we ignore the fact that he is the husband of one of the Bellas, Bree, one of them. But I feel like he's going to come back wanting to work great matches. He's going to want to work Mizuru Sasaki. He's going to want to work Jon Moxley. Maybe not Moxley, but because they probably worked in the WWE. But Chris Jericho, MJF, guys he's never worked before. And he's one of those guys that I can just see. You don't really have to put titles on him. He just has great matches. Great feuds.
He's another one that could wrestle a broomstick and make it look good. He's just he's a hard worker. He does great at what he does, and he puts on a great show. I can't really remember one bad match that he ever had.
Are you watching any WWE at this point, or is it all AEW? Now, I'm going to tell you, folks, this show is going to be an AEW-based show. It's going to have a lot of AEW. If you're a WWE fan, we might not be your cup of tea, but do you watch any?
I do not. I will turn. I hate to admit this, but I'll turn it on to help me go to sleep at night.
Oh wow! Wow! Well, and I'll admit the couple of guys I would turn on would be if I knew Bray Wyatt was on like Friday night on a Funhouse or something. I would turn it on, fast forward to his segment, and then maybe not watch the rest of it. Same thing with Strowman. So
I will actually, listen to the podcast, the review podcast of different ones on the next day. If they talk about something being good, I will go back and fast forward and find what they're talking about and watch that part. I did watch a little bit when they started touring again. I think it's 2 weeks ago. I wanted to see what type of crowd reaction everybody got, and of course, John Cena got the best one of them all, and yeah, so I do watch stuff like that, but as far as just sitting down and watching it, no, I do not.
Well, Howie, we're out of time today. I've really enjoyed this show. We both love AEW. I mean, it's a fun
Hey,
wrestling product.
before we get going, can I give you my dream tag team match?
Go ahead. Yes.
We're just talking about fantasy booking. My dream tag team match: CM Punk and Orange Cassidy against Daniel Bryan and Darby Allin.
Wow, that would be nice. You want to hear mine?
Yes.
And this is crazy, but I was thinking about it last night. I want to see. I'm not a big fan of four-way matches, but I want to see a four-way match. Bryant or Danielson, Punk, Omega, Hangman. That's the match I want to see. That's the match I want to see.
The reason I picked those four, is because they can all go. They can all put on a show and they can all go. Not saying that your four couldn't. It's just something about that I think could be really special.
It would be. And I hate that I'm going to announce we're having a guest next week when we haven't booked that guest, but I've reached out to him, and next week, hopefully, now there's a couple of ways this could go, but hopefully next week we'll have our friend Camden Smith on the show. And Camden, if you're watching, I know I haven't asked you, but I was going to we're going to have Camden on in the next couple of weeks for sure. We're also, we got to make sure when it's going to happen, our friend Jamon is going to be on here on a Thursday night, and we are going to do 100% Falcons talk, top to bottom. And Howie, I'm looking forward to it. That's a guy I remember when we went to the Super Bowl, and you and I were there, and NFC Championship game. We looked around.
We wasn't at the Super Bowl. It's the NFC. Yes.
Yeah, on the way to the Super Bowl, we look around, and Jamon is dancing on the top of one of the entrances tunnels. So, great guy. He'll have a lot of good things to say. We need to reach out to him tonight or tomorrow and make sure he's still ready.
Right.
Final thoughts for the night, Howie.
Great show tonight. I enjoy AEW wrestling a little bit better than I do the WWE. But AEW there's no, unless they just do something totally crazy, I think they're on the verge of possibly taking over WWE and all the wrestling, because they've got so many great people that they can bring in and just skyrocket from here on out.
Well, we've had a great show. I've really loved it, and I think you're right. We'll be back at 7:00 next week. Right now, let me plug another show. Our friends, I'm watching it right here, live one podcast to another podcast. There you go, guys. Go over and watch the Off the Center Card Show. Of course, coming back here in 30 minutes, 3 Hours Sports with Raj, Randall, and Robbie. And next week, Howie Chaney and myself will be here with a guest, I guess. So,
hopefully.
All right. Until next week, for Off the Record with Randall and
the Howie Chaney.
The Howie Chaney. Y'all have a great night.